Okay, so we are just a day away from the end of the LACRIMOSA banner. And if you only have enough pools saved up to pull for only one of these units, then this is not a pull for who you like moment. Chaos is just around the corner, and I know that a lot of players are faced with the decision of who to go for. And for many players, this is a decision that will define whether version 1.1 feels amazing for them or if they later believe that they made the wrong decision. So we have LACRIMOSA. She is a character who is already in the game, has multiple teams that are already proven strong. Those who pick her have an immediate strong unit and not a unit banking on future glory or potential. On the other hand, we have Chaos, a high-ceiling executioner on-field damage dealer who sets the fight up to his own pace, slowing down enemies while melting their HP bars. No doubt one of the scariest damage dealers in the game right now, with some caveats of course, such as team restrictions and a weird playstyle. So the question isn't just a matter of which unit is stronger. It is a question of who is the better use of your pool currency. This is a decision we need to make right now before the LACRIMOSA banner disappears. And by the end of this video, I will give you a clean-cut answer. Trust me, I won't end this video with a statement like, they are both good. I will give you a real verdict. This verdict will go over when I would pull for Chaos and when I would pull LACRIMOSA. Then I will include a final verdict on the safer and smarter choice of the two units. Now, if you compare DPS clips, you will definitely make the wrong choice. Before we go on their kits, their damage, their teams, or lack thereof, the comparison of Chaos versus LACRIMOSA is not just a damage comparison. It is a value proposition, as the characters are so different from each other. And the major difference is presented by the value each unit brings to an account. I mean, some units are usually easy to shoehorn into a set playstyle due to their similarities, like a comparison between two DPS units of the same element or playstyle. Then it becomes a simple question of who hits the hardest or who has the fastest clears in Beyond the Rails. With Chaos and LACRIMOSA, however, they are so fundamentally different that we have to start considering what does each one do for the account of the player that pulls the unit. We also have to consider the overall investment required in order to get them to a position that can make them feel strong. Finally, there's also how much they disrupt the current formations you have in the game. So, I will do this by answering just 4 questions. This is the lens we will use to determine which of these units should you actually pull for. Number 1, what is the role of each character? Number 2, which of the two is easier to justify? Number 3, which of the two has the higher ceiling? Disclaimer, in this one we will also consider what it would actually cost to get to that ceiling. And then finally, number 4, which of the two is better if you do not have many of the units in the game, so if you have a smaller roster. What even is the difference? They are both strong DPS units. The answer is that one of these two characters will help your account right now, while the other one requires your account to work for them. Though they are both damage dealers who are greedy for on-field time, LACRIMOSA wanting to apply her stacks, on the other hand, Chaos wanting to build up his stacks, there is a key difference between them. LACRIMOSA is the type of unit right now that will give your account structure, whereas Chaos will want you to ensure you build around him while potentially disrupting teams you already have set up. Chaos is a selfish on-field Lakshana DPS. He wants long field time, which is common for a greedy DPS. He wants a team that is tailored to support his Remora uptime in order to maximize his damage. The issue here is that in order for this team to be possible, it will first require a unit that is potentially busy elsewhere. This unit is Zero. They are currently a highly contested support with the current Blossom team using them. Furthermore, Chaos also needs Hathor for the extended Remora uptime in order for him to deal higher damage. He is the center of the team. and the team is there to make his damage better. He is the ideal picture of a selfish DPS. Lacrimosa, on the other hand, is a unit that can be slotted into your team immediately. She asks for less when it comes to team building and does not require any mechanical adaptation to play comfortably. More on this later. Yes, she does do better with Sakiri in her team and absolutely needs her, but she also has a Nova team for the people without the Sakiri. Also, furthermore, Lacrimosa has the benefit of being able to comfortably use 2 4-stars in her team without sacrificing any major damage. This is why the choice is such a dangerous one to make, especially if it is made while relying on showcases. Chaos is the type of unit that is explosive in the right team. I am pretty sure you will be seeing showcases of him doing crazy numbers, while Lacrimosa being the kind of character who can end up being the better choice in a more subtle way. So before you commit to spending your hard-earned amulets, it is more important to determine what type of value you want right now. Do you want a character who will immediately slot into your team and will make a good second team without sacrificing your zero? Or do you want a character that has the potential to have a very high ceiling, but for now requires a lot from you? To do this, we need to dive deeper into Chaos, as his upcoming banner is the reason we are even having this debate. So, what is a player committing to with Chaos? Chaos is not just a DPS. He is a commitment. However, just because he is a commitment does not mean he is not a worthwhile commitment. CNside has even gone as far as calling him Potential Man, which is funny but true. On a side note, if you're enjoying the NTE content and you want more long-form character guides, discussions, and breakdowns like these, make sure to subscribe. Around 70% of the people watching these videos aren't subscribed to my channel yet. So if you want to keep coming back for NTE content, subscribing is the best way to support the channel and to also make sure that you don't miss the next upload. Now back to Chaos. When you look at Chaos, he's a unit that is easy to market and convince a person to pull for. If you ignore the fact that he is a male unit and many won't pull purely based on that, his aesthetic is actually a good one. He is a Grim Reaper type unit with a scythe. He carries a weapon that is quite similar to the Devil Sword Spada from Devil May Cry. He also slows down enemies significantly, while also dealing large nuke damage. I do not know about you, but for me, this is very appealing as a unit. It just screams, pull me. Even when we look at his core gameplay, the loop is pretty simple and understandable. Apply the warrant mark, build your crime, and then get a final verdict. That final verdict is where most of his damage is. His ultimate is also something that feeds into this loop, as it makes it so that you can generate crime at a faster rate. This directly feeds into a faster final verdict, which then becomes a more aggressive window in his overall playstyle. He is what CN has dubbed a wheelchair DPS, in terms of how simple his main combo is. Mark the target, build the meter, big damage, rinse and repeat. However, his absurd numbers aren't purely from the final verdict, it's from Remora. Although he isn't a unit I would classify as a reaction damage dealer, Remora forms a significant portion of his damage. Chaos's unique passive is a Remora buff that leads to a nuke. When the Remora expires, being when the slow effect timer ends, it causes the enemies to take a huge burst of damage. The longer the duration the Remora stays, the higher the damage ceiling, which is why you will see those high damage numbers everywhere. It is not a burst window with final verdict or his ultimate that deals a majority of his damage, but purely the expiration of the Remora. So Chaos then becomes a unit that tests your patience and is absolutely terrifying at the same time. So if you want to pull, the greatest argument I have for him is his raw upside. This right here is his best argument. The best case scenario for Chaos is actually kind of simple when you think about it. And this is a personal opinion now. He has one of the most exciting damage ceilings of the current roster we have in 1.1. Perhaps it is because I like Berserker type units. Perhaps it's because I like big damage numbers, but that's just me personally. Once he is paired up with the right units, the proper supports, he can make Remora truly a dangerous reaction. This is where we go back to calling him Potential Man. He has little choice in the way of teammates that actually buff Remora. For an example, one of the teammates he absolutely wants is Zero. However, Zero does not help him do anything except act as a reaction bot. If we look at the most established team we have, being the Nanali team, G1 has a passive that increases the max number of Vita Buds while spawning another. Hotori makes it so Vita Buds can continue dealing damage during her time stop. Zero is a reaction bot for the team, but he also ensures more Vita Buds spawn through his instant cycle. This is a 4-unit team that is cohesive and in some way helps deal more damage through the Blossom reaction. Chaos has a high ceiling because besides Hathor, he's still lacking Remora supports that can actually see him deal higher damage than he is actually doing right now. Yes, he requires a lot of investment to get there, but he has the potential to become a disgusting damage dealer with the right team in the future. That, however, is one of the biggest arguments I have against Chaos as well. At what cost does his current and future strength come at? Now, if you're a gamer like I am, most things are based on muscle memory. When to dodge, when to use attacks, and so on. In a way, Chaos's Remora can make it feel like you've gotten worse at playing the game. Now, I won't go into much detail here, as many could argue that for them, Chaos gives them more time to react, therefore helping them survive better. For me, however, I have found him to mess up my rhythm a bit, which is the point I am getting at. It can be a commitment to get used to the Remora timeframes for when to dodge, which becomes another issue when you swap to another unit without this time slowed down. As if this was not enough on its own, then we have the fact that Remora really does test your patience. While I am a patient man, and I do like seeing the big numbers after waiting for some time, his gameplay does want you to pay attention and be patient. Remora tests your patience due to it requiring you not to reapply it before the big boom. If you reapply before the trigger, this resets the very window you are trying to maximize. What this means for you is that you lose the big damage you were banking on. This is when he becomes sort of contradictory as a unit. His combo is generally easy to pull off. However, his gameplay loop requires some technical timing that can have you pulling your hair off if you accidentally reapply the Remora. This brings us all the way back to the beginning as we finish off this Chaos segment. The cost of pulling Chaos is the commitment. He is a unit that will require you not just to commit resources, but also in getting comfortable with his playstyle. The line between those who are happy they pulled and those who regret it will be made purely by how much people are willing to commit. Lacrimosa fits in here very easily, as her value proposition is entirely different. Lacrimosa is not the flashiest character to go for. She does not promise you big numbers for screenshots, and this is why she is a dangerous unit to skip. If Chaos is the unit you pull for the high ceiling that he promises, Lacrimosa is the unit that gives your account immediate comfort and makes your account feel strong immediately. While this difference might seem like a small difference at first, it is important to remember that ease of access is really easy to justify for pulling. Her whole mechanic relies on her Scorch and her stacks, and this is quite easy to work around. She will not ask you to memorize your timing due to Remora. She will not even ask you to save your reactions for a certain point. She also doesn't need the same level of future support as Chaos, I would argue. Although she could benefit from getting more limited units in her team, the current setup with Adler and Haniel does not leave much on the table. She has a very clear role and team archetype that does not try to hog Zero, who seems to be everywhere in team building. Yes, she isn't the flashiest unit, Ignoring that she is a female character with so many skins, her gameplay is not the flashiest. However, sometimes the best unit for your account is not the one who provides nuke damage and depends on future potential, but the unit that makes your account cleaner and smoother. Given how casual the player base is, if you are more into comfort and flexibility, as opposed to going for the higher risk ceiling that you might not achieve depending on your playstyle, this is what makes or breaks your decision. This is the actual decision, not Chaos versus Lacrimosa, but actually stability versus upside. I believe I have carved out the decision one has to make quite cleanly now. Chaos is the potential man. He is a unit that will perform quite well for you if you commit to him. He has an immense potential to grow even further as the roster in the game continues to expand. On the other hand, Lacrimosa is the stability pool. She is an instant second team unit who is easier to slot into a team right away and play quite well without even worrying about dodge cancelling all her attacks. She is easier to pilot without committing to learning new rhythms and being patient for a reward. This is the best way to look at the comparison right now. Do not focus on who had the bigger number in the showcase, but on, do I need stability right now in the way of a second team, or am I looking for further upside potential? This is the best way to look at the comparison right now. Do not focus on who had the bigger numbers in the showcase, but on, do I need stability right now in the way of a second team, or am I looking for future upside potential? If you are the type of player who is quite impatient and prefers to spam their abilities whenever they are available, who hates being forced into a certain type of team, then Chaos is not for you, as you will grow to regret it when he doesn't feel as good in the ideal team setup and playstyle. However, if you are bored of the usual and want a unit that will test and feel mechanically rewarding to play, then Chaos is the one for you. The patience might be annoying, but the payoff is actually quite dopamine-inducing. The decision is not just about power, but also about temperament, as these are very distinct units with different playstyles. Now, I did say it was account-specific at the start, so if your account is currently underbuilt, this is actually quite an easy recommendation to make for you. This section of my video is actually quite important for many people, as although you might see many people clear endgame and have multiple developed teams, a majority of the player base is still developing their accounts and don't have every premium support in the game. This makes it so that they cannot really afford to invest in a high maintenance carry right now. You used your selector on G1 and Sakiri, so you don't have the Hathor. This really is an easy choice for you. Lacrimosa will be an easy choice there. Chaos requires more commitment from a team building perspective and requires more consideration when it comes to the team building aspect. Even if you are ready to adapt to the playstyle and the timing issue, a good team is ideal. Lacrimosa is the kind of unit that will make your account easier without making your life harder first. Now, if your roster is already looking good and you have no issues with the commitment, or you actually enjoy demanding carries, then yes, Chaos is easier to defend. If you're looking for a DPS to make your main, a resource sink where you will sink time into, the conversation starts to flow in a different direction. If you enjoy the gradual satisfaction of learning a new unit and their mechanics, such as dodging at a proper time or waiting for the ideal timing to apply Remora, then Chaos is for you. However, as an average player with limited resources, Lacrimosa is the one for you. So who should you actually pull? I actually advise going for the Lacrimosa, especially for the average player. Lacrimosa is easier to justify, as they are easy to pick up and play and actually see her do quite well. While on the other hand of the spectrum, Chaos requires more effort to learn and get used to, which is not impossible. He has a very simple rotation, just an issue of timing here and there. So that is my verdict. However, if you're like me and you're not letting the first DMC coded unit pass you by, May you enjoy the Chaos pull. Are you pulling for Lacrimosa before her banner ends? Are you skipping for Chaos? Or are you skipping both for a future unit like the drip-marketed Shinku and Eroi? Let me know down below, and I will see you in the next one.